Hello, welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene, and I'm searching for the little spot I'm supposed to look at to have eye contact with you when the camera's flipped around. So I hope I'm looking at you. Hello. I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to call it 60 seconds, 60 pages. And I'm going to do that as often as I can during the month of November, where I just read 60 pages in my various different nonfiction books and bring you up to speed. So not really a reading vlogs as such, just some sort of, I don't know, manic moments. Maybe that's what I should call them, manic moments. Okay, so telling you the title of the book doesn't count and in the time frame. And the other thing what I'm going to do is time it. So I don't even know what this is going to look like. It could look very disorganized, but hey ho. All right, so the first book, let me hit the timer. The first book I'm going to start talking to you about is Ends of the World, Volcanic Apocalypses, Lethal Oceans, and Our Quest to Understand Earth's Past Mass Extinctions by Peter Brannan. Okay, read 22 pages. Chapter 1 was about beginnings, and he's kind of giving us a context for in Boston where there are shorelines that go back to the Precambrian period, and how in that time there were these small creatures that were not sort of half plant, half animal, and they burrowed into the rock, and by burrowing into the rock, it changed the chemical composition of oceans. And by opening up the oceans, we get these beings that started to eat the sludge of what was effectively the oceans at that time. It wasn't water as we think of it. It was more kind of like oozy, mucky stuff. So these little beings created some sort of a system that allowed them to inhale and ingest the contents of the ocean and thereby clearing it the way we would recognize it today, and opening up sunlight and opening up oxygen and photosynthesis as all processes. So this is where the Cambrian explosion comes from, and this is where we begin to get quite a lot of life forms forming. Book 2, I've read 44 pages in this book. It is Extinctions and Evolution, What Fossils Reveal About the History of Life. And this is kind of a coffee table nonfiction book. It's got a great chart in here that I can refer to over and over with the different timelines. And I think what's happening in this book, I'm just not far enough in it to know for sure, but I think we're going backwards from, quite often we get evolution starting from what they call the boring billion, and brings us through forward to life. I think what's going to happen here is that we're going to see it more as life diminishes and brings us back to fossil times. Chapter 2 is starting to take us into the early sea life. It has great pictures, and he has very loquacious sentences, so I have to read them sometimes a couple of times just to see where's the verb. Uses a lot of descriptors, and what I'm about to find out is how the similarities between a bat's wings, a bird's wings, and a pterodactyl's wings. And so we've got a bird fossil here that did not fly, for instance, and that is part of the shape of a bat wing. Pterodactyl. So we'll see how this goes. I'll figure the format out. Feeling a little panicked as I begin this. So first book, first stab, first. See you soon. Bye. Today's 60 seconds comes from the book Mudlark by Laura Makelum. She's doing Search of London's Past Along the River Thames. And it's mentioned in the past video, I believe this book was pretty popular last year and the year before. So, yeah, it's the kind of nature writing that I'm not totally excited by. I don't totally love memoir, but thankfully she's not too present in the story. And she has nice writing style. I've enjoyed that part of it, and she's got good selection of details, artifacts, and descriptions of the river and so on. You really get, well, we were in London, so we have a sense of what that is like, um, walking along the Thames and so on. So I have a bit of an idea of place, which is nice to put this book in context of my past travels. The other thing that I've learned is that there are two types of licenses that you can get in order to do mudlarking along the Thames. One is for if you actually do the digging and use a metal detector, and the other is if you use your visuals. So, like just your own personal eyeballs, not the eyeballs of other people, because that would be gory, but Okay, bye. This book is a bit of a challenge. I read 30 pages, didn't understand what was happening, had to go back, totally insulted because I understood all the vocabulary that was being used and just couldn't put two and two together. And I realized that I have to take all the things I know about climate change in our times and kind of let go of it, because in effect it's an inverse that happened during the first extinction period. So we've got the planet is getting colder and colder, and 5 degrees change in terms of dropping means an ice age. And what happened for the ice age is that the seas just had this massive draining, and the seas weren't very deep in those days. They were like 2-3 feet deep across whatever landforms were existing at that time. And as the ice kind of sucked the water up, the oceans went dry, and so that was the first extinction period.